Hey everybody, hope you're well, and today we're going to have a review of the crypto debit card market, and today you'll find out what are my top picks. So it only seems natural to have a crypto debit card. We can exchange cryptocurrency between ourselves via our wallets. However, that will only go so far. We do need something that is easy to use, simple, and people will understand it. Having cryptocurrency on a debit card and being able to spend it like you do every day with your current card will just make life really, really easy. So what are the benefits of using crypto and a crypto debit card? Well, the first thing is the fees. So that doesn't just apply to us, obviously us transferring the money, but also to the retailers. So the people that we buy your shoes, your clothes from, and all that type of thing. So those guys have to, every time you go and make a transaction, you don't see it and you don't get charged it, so you don't really, probably don't care, but they get charged a fee. Now all they do is they take that fee and they add it into the price of the product. So if you take away some of these fees, either one or two things will happen. The retailer will make more margin, therefore they can invest in their business and do different things, or they might allow them to become more competitive in the marketplace and actually provide cheaper products. So it could potentially work for us. And obviously those fees is a really key thing. Next one is rewards. I've seen up to a 2% redemption for using the crypto cards. So there are some real key incentives for people to use it. You also have instant payment as well. So, like with something like, sometimes depending on the network, obviously, it can be fairly quick or it can be a little bit slow, but it's definitely faster than sort of Visa as their payments work. And you'll notice this when you go and you go to a certain shop, you buy something, but you don't see that come out of your account for the next 3 or 4 days. And that's because it has to go through a certain process, and out of that process everyone's taking a percentage, and that's why those fees are so high. The other thing is obviously using crypto and paying for stuff will actually start to amount to a form of adoption. The thing is, if people just use it as an investment, it's not really going to go too far too quickly. But if people use it as an everyday thing, then that's a different ball game. So the key benefits are, like day-to-day payments. And if we see the cryptocurrency market really take off, you can use it. I know I heard a story about a guy who bought some Bitcoin, and then he was buying his coffee every day. And because the price of Bitcoin kept going up and up and up, he started with 500, and 3 months later, having a free coffee every day, he still had 500 in crypto. Obviously, it went down in the end, but for that example, when it's going up, he had all those coffees for free. Okay, his Bitcoin's not worth as much now, but if he holds on to it, it probably will be. You can also use it abroad. More and more people are starting to accept it, and also you don't get these currency, the amount of times you've gone on holiday and you take 1,000 euros because you think you're going to spend it. You actually come back and you've got 700 euros, and then you transfer it back and you've got like piss all to show for it. So there's all these exchange rates and all that type of thing going on. Obviously, when you've got one currency that's accepted everywhere, it's a different ball game again. Again, you can hold different fiat currencies in your wallet. So generally it's going to be USD, euros, maybe yen, depending where you are, and obviously the British pound. And you can also spend those different types of crypto. So the real benefit of these cards is that they're trying to make them so that you can spend all your ERC20 tokens, your Dash, your Litecoin, your Bitcoin, and making it so much easier for people. And the other thing is, if you've got the card, you can obviously use this as ATMs as well. Depending on different cards, some charge a fee to withdraw, some don't. You really need to look into the detail to understand what you can use the card for and which is the best for you. So there are some key challenges in the space, and the first one was obviously when we see the wave crest issue, where a lot of cards just basically became redundant overnight, which was a bit of a shame because that marketplace was really starting to get a big buzz, and overnight pretty much died a death. There are some other key challenges, like the lengthy process to get accepted. Once you've got all your other licenses in fiat to crypto and all the rest of it, then you go for your big license, which I know takes anywhere up to 2 months, just as a basic start for 10 really. The other thing is, if you've got multiple cards, it also delays the process. So if you've got a provider such as Monaco, which has got the tiered cards, so I think it's about 4 or 5 different cards. First of all, that is extra cost per card, and also it's more process for each and every card. So it does cause a whole bunch of delays. So Visa have changed the rules. And let's call it, I don't know, let's call it the bully card, for instance. So you got the bully card and we go to Visa. Now, they would say, okay, you've got that card, you can change it into euros, pounds, and USD. That's cool. And we're going to charge you one fee. You go, brilliant, nice one, thanks, mate. However, they've changed that now. So you go with your bully card, and now if you want to change it into euros or pounds or USD, you need to pay the separate fee or license on each one now. So that makes it nearly, well, triple the price pretty much to change into different currencies. So I think when we see some of these cards come out, they might not always be in the currency that we want them to. I think they'll be in the currencies of their focus or designated areas that they're really going after. So that has been a big rule change, and also something that has, one, delayed the process, and two, people have had to reapply and stuff. So that's caused a few issues. And again, the other thing is there's not many working cards out there at this moment in time. So again, I believe that the door is still open for this area to really explode. Unfortunately, there are scams in the space from time to time, and Central was really the big one within the crypto debit card space. Now, they obviously got big people like Floyd Mayweather involved. You know, they've got some big names in this. I think DJ Khaled as well was another name that was knocking about. Now, the shame about this is that the brand and the name was pretty decent, to be fair. The ICO went pretty well, but obviously it was turning out to be a scam. Now, you can see Mayweather looking all happy here. Obviously, when he found out it was a scam and lost all his money, he cried for days, unfortunately, because then he realised he had to go fight Conor McGregor and do some dirty boxing and try and win a fight and win some cash, probably to pay his tax bills more than likely. It wasn't just the celebrities that got caught. Unfortunately, they got the community as well. Their branding and everything was so good, it convinced everybody. Even Superman was at it, getting it on his coin calls. And I got to put my hand up. I also, that was part of some of my coin calls as well. I mean, you know, fortunately, the community made some big money if they bought in at $1 and sold out at $3, which was the price. So it was a tough one, really. There was loads of articles online and stuff comparing it against the other cards. So there was a lot of people that got sucked into this, which is really unfortunate. But again, some of the benefits for me, you know, my research got a lot tighter. I also started to review and also assess CEOs and their previous businesses by doing financial checks on them, which is now my sort of standard thing that I do for all ICOs. So the SEC are charging these guys. Now, I've got absolutely no sympathy for these guys. They had the strong brand, they had the community, they could have delivered a great product. They didn't even need that much money to do it, and they could have banked the rest. You know, idiots really in that sense. But these guys are going to prison and they're getting their bum cherries popped. And Sam and Robert, this song's for you. So it wouldn't be the same if I didn't have a bit of transaction data in here, just to really sort of contextualize the marketplace. As you can see here, purchase transactions 2016 to 2026. You can see obviously at the top, you see the smaller number, and at the bottom, the bigger number. So you can see that there is a huge increase. And the main reason for that is our shopping habits are changing dramatically. A good example is something like your food shopping. So in years gone by, you would have done sort of shopped and it would have been for the week because you couldn't be bothered to go out. But obviously with the convenience stores and pretty much everywhere you go, there's Tesco Express, that actually our shopping habits have changed. We don't do that weekly, monthly shop anymore. We actually shop anywhere up to 4 to 5 times a week, and we're normally buying in little bits here and there and more fresh as well. So how we spend and transactions are completely changing. And this is just really sort of highlighting that actually there's going to be more and more transactions, which means more and more fees. But if we use crypto debit cards, then there's going to be less fees. So if we're looking at who's the daddy, it's Visa by a country mile. Now, before I even looked at this data, I was really surprised about the gap between MasterCard and Visa. You sort of see it everywhere. And I thought they would be pretty much on par, but no, there's a huge difference between them. So Visa has been probably the more crypto friendly, where MasterCard's been a bit hot and cold, but that probably shows that, you know, they're not doing the transactions. They're a little bit behind the times, and it's Visa leading the way. So in terms of my starting point for sort of analysing the market, I really had to do a couple of things. And the first one was to sort of separate, you know, what are sort of more the hardcore cards versus there are some products out there that have a card attached to it, and it's not really a primary focus for these guys. And there was a couple that have just disappeared anyway, so I didn't include them. So I only took what was live on CoinMarketCap. Then obviously I took all of the data from price, market cap, volumes, took algo scores, took loads of different elements from lots of different websites, lots of different resources, and I built a huge spreadsheet. And then I was able to look at everything from team, coin usage, brand and marketing, and scored everything individually. That's why these videos don't come out very frequently, is because these things take a lot of time. The spreadsheet itself takes about 2 weeks to build. And then it was to apply all these different measures to figure out what was happening and what were the dynamics and what were the key things. And I'm going to draw on some of those things as we go through. And the key was to analyze that data and put it into a format that actually meant something, and what were key dynamics that would grab me as an investor, but maybe also you guys, for you to maybe check out projects or have a double take or investigate something a little bit further. And as always, none of this is financial advice. This is just me being a big old geek and doing lots of research and building spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff. So with all that research and all that data, I was able to condense it all down into this one table, which gives me a good overview. And just something to really sort of stress is that this will be done sort of every 3 to 4 months to really make sure that, you know, all of the coins that I'm talking about are still relevant, they're still in the same place, because obviously things change very quickly in this marketplace, and obviously I need to adapt my portfolio with that at the same time. Now, as we can see, this is my list, so I'm sort of sharing, you know, all my hard work with you in terms of this is my overview. You don't have to take this as gospel or anything else, you know, but there might be particular coins on here you think, oh God, you know what, I might check them out and look a bit further, or whatever it is. So this is just my overview, but I did come up with 4 that I was really impressed with, and I will give you the rationales behind that. I think it's no surprise that TenX is rated number 1, and they've got some really key USPs, I think. First one is that they're very active in the space. They're very good at letting you know what's going on, the good, the bad, and the ugly. They're also seeking their own banking license, and these guys are doing things a little bit differently to some of the other cards, because if they got caught out with the Wavecrest issue, and if that ever happens again, if they've got their own banking license, they'll still have a working card. Again, strong community behind them. I mean, I've been a TenX investor from not quite the ICO, but just after the ICO. And these guys are close to a working card from all of the information that seems to be coming out at the moment. The real jewel in the crown, though, for TenX is Julian himself. You know, he's very inspirational. He is very open. He's very honest. And the way I see it is, if you want to make a space or you want to make something better, the only way you can do that is by upping the standards. And Julian has done that on all aspects in cryptocurrency. Instead of like hiding away behind your product, he stands in front of his product, and he will tell everybody if it's, you know, if things aren't working, he'll tell them. Sometimes he gets a lot of stick for that. They've lost some community for it, but he also, I think, is probably one of the most respected people in the space because of the way that he is trying to up the standards on pretty much in every dimension. And he's not just inspirational, I think, just in the debit card space, but in total cryptocurrency. He stands out as a flag and a beacon. And again, if you're going to invest in one of these projects, you need somebody like this leading a team into sort of really uncharted waters, shall we say. And he's not afraid, and I like that about Julian. So, and hopefully we can get Julian on the channel soon so we can interview him, because he's number 1 on my list at the moment. So what is the biggest multiplier in the category? Well, I've picked out Amon, and I've based this on 100 million market cap. Now, we could look at some of the other bigger players like TenX, who got to 500 million in the height, but I just don't think that's an accurate measure at this moment in time. I think 100 million is more than enough. But if we look at that, obviously from the ICO price, it tanked. based on the market tanking and also the wave crest issue. So debit cards got absolutely smashed at that point. But from there, where it is now, to get to 100 million, you're looking at a 309-fold. Now, if they only get to 33 million, which is only double of what they raised in the ICO, that would make it a 100 bagger. Now, I know so many people looking for these 100 baggers, and it's this one and it's that one, but I've actually looked at the metrics, the data, and where this could possibly go, and it's 3 times more than any other card at the moment. I've not looked at any other industries to compare it, I've just looked at those guys. But their sort of USPs is that they've got the AI support at point of sale. So for newbies trying to use their card and figure out, well, do I spend Ethereum? Do I spend Bitcoin? Do I spend Litecoin? It will do all that for you. It will go, right, okay, Litecoin's been on a bit of a rally at the moment. ETH is down. You probably don't want to spend that. So we'll pick Litecoin and we use that. And you have the options to turn it on and off, or pick specific cryptos that you just want to get rid of, for instance, and spend on the card. So it makes it really easy for newbies. They've got the ex-VP of Visa as a team member. I interviewed him quite recently, Luca. I mean, this guy has taken this project leaps and bounds since he's been on. Some of the timelines that they've got things done in is unbelievable. They're gaining traction, a bit of a sleeping giant. In terms of the scores, I think they were 12 or 13 on the table. And the primary drivers for that were obviously the amount that they've got in circulation, and the amount is held by the team. And also the other factor was their branding. So their branding came out incredibly low, but they have got a plan and they're working on that with their daily blogs that they're doing, and they're starting to really build traction. And they're seeing that when people are starting to order their cards. And the thing is, they are close to a working card as well. So obviously some of the conversations I've had with these guys, they're very, very close. You know, we should see something this year, and I think they're very confident that that will happen. And this is obviously my number 2 pick. I was quite lucky to meet these guys over at the Blockchain World Summit that was happening in London. They were there. I was there doing a bit of filming, so I was able to meet up. And also the guys from Daniel as well, who are working on the AI section of that project. So it was really good to interview those guys and talk in more depth about how it all works, which was great. So the one that came out as best product was Naga. Now, I did a lot of research on this, and just everything I read was very, very positive on this product. They've got the Naga Academy and seminars. They've got SwiftTex and gaming. They've got the Naga Trader and stuff. I'm seeing a lot of products coming out that are potentially trading or financial products, and then they're tagging on a card afterwards. So I'm seeing a lot of that in the space as well. So there's going to be a lot of these sorts of, well, I'll call them secondary cards for now, where these cards I see as a bit more hardcore in terms of that everyday spending. And again, loads of discounts and benefits that were coming with the card as well. So from all the research that I did, this came out as the best product. So Naga is my number 3 pick. Now, I'll just give you some of the rationale of why I didn't go into the ICO. First one is because Bellina was behind it, and anything he's behind, I just forget, because generally they get pumped and dumped, and they're a bag of shit, basically. He's picked a few good ones, but generally they're shit. David Drake, every time I speak to a project, obviously I do a lot of advisory stuff as well, he just bleeds projects dry, pretty much. So I'd love to speak to the Naga guys about that, but I'm sure I'd get the same stories I've heard everywhere else. And also the fact that he's been taken off ICO benches, an advisor would obviously be a key measure there. However, saying that, I think from all the research that I've done, is actually I've changed my mind on Naga. Obviously, first, you know, there's so many projects out there, you have to go with your gut feel and sort of initial just sort of scanning the market, start off with, and it's only when you really get into the nuts and bolts of a project that you really start to understand it a lot more, and also understand if it is a good investment long term. So I quite like this project. So my number 4 pick is Monaco. It was number 3, but I'll explain why it's moved to number 4 quite recently. Monaco was the first one I ever tried to get into at 63 cents. If I had, I would have made a fortune, but I was brand new to ICOs and I didn't quite figure it out quick enough. These guys have different levels of cashback depending on the card, but it's up to 2%, which is one of the highest out there. These guys are a big brand name out there, just like TenX, but I think these guys have been around just a little bit longer. They also have a low circulating supply, so their stock is good for trading, especially if there's any big news, it can pump pretty quick. And again, the card is free, plus they have no fees at all and stuff. Now I'll explain why Monaco has moved from number 3 to number 4. Obviously, talking to a lot of these card providers, I've got a lot of information in terms of the whole process, and I mentioned it before, where when a card provider has lots of different levels of card, there's more complexity, there's more cost, and it also takes more time. So I think even though Monaco are doing a good job at the moment, I just don't think that they're going to produce a card to the market before maybe some of the others, like an Amon or a TenX, where they're just focused on one card at this moment in time. So these gone on a little bit on the back burner. They've got the brand, they've got like 90,000 people signed up to get a card. I mean, it all looks good, but just at the moment, I think with the complexity that these guys have, it will take them a lot longer to come to market with all of their products. Now, there already is competition out there, and I would call these sort of like more base products or basic products, if you will, in the forms of Wirex. You've also got Revolut as well. I've just got this for the short term, but they're gaining in popularity. 900,000 users already, which is huge. And literally, it's just a wallet with a contactless direct debit card, which is pretty simple to use. And they also have GBP, USD, and Euro. These guys actually started, I think it was a crowdfunding in 2014. They got about 200k, and in 2017 they had a really big boost of about 3 million and they're financed by the SBI Group, which are huge. So there's some big players behind these guys as well. And these guys are already creating competition in the space by acquiring so many users. And if they can add more functionality, maybe more benefits to their product, then maybe these guys could be the winners rather than some of the others. But we'll just have to see it, and only time will tell. But the big question on everybody's lips is, will people actually spend crypto? You give them a crypto debit card, they've got lots of Bitcoin or Ethereum or some ERC20 tokens. Are they going to spend them? A lot of people say no. I'm going to say yes. And I think there's some core key reasons why people will. Some people say no because, people see it as an investment. They want to hold it for the long term. I think in the majority, there are probably things like Bitcoin that you will. But there are also some other currencies that you will spend. And most crypto card holders are going to be retail investors. They're not going to be the majority of sort of the bigger boys with 100 million to spend or whatever it is. It's going to be the smaller end of the marketplace with smaller transactions like coffees and maybe shopping, petrol, those types of things. A lot of people over leveraged themselves in the marketplace. They got a little bit excited when they seen the price go up, and a lot of people put a lot of money in that they didn't really have or could afford to. And I see this scenario every single day. And that's led to people are desperate for profits. The amount of times I get approached to buy crypto off people at extremely discounted prices is pretty much a daily occurrence because people are trying to take profits out. However, if you have a crypto debit card that you could just put your money on and go and spend it, then people would do that. And I pretty much hardly know anybody that's not wanted to do that so far. And I think the other thing is, it's just because I can. People they'll go and spend, I was getting excited about getting my card and going and spending some Bitcoin just to try it and see what it, just how it all works and just see it in real life type thing. So there's a lot of interest and intrigue to go out there and use it and play about a bit and maybe buy a couple of things as well. So when people say, people aren't going to use it, I think people will. And I think we'll be surprised about how many people will go and actually spend some crypto. So in conclusion, I think there are some incredibly strong brands out there and also some incredibly strong leadership within this sort of segment. I think the first to market of these big brands will have the upper hand, and I think this could completely change the market dynamics, and even a small player could potentially turn it on its head as well. I think people will spend their crypto. I have certain rules within my portfolios. For instance, I've got some Bitcoin which is locked away. I don't touch it. It's for the long term, but everything else is sort of fair game. And I know that some other people do have sort of the same thinking on their portfolio. So not everything is investment. You do need some of that liquidity in your portfolio. I think there's some big multipliers within this category. Already highlighted one, which would be a 309-fold, which is one of the biggest multipliers I've seen out there at the moment. And the big thing is the revolution is coming. We can't stop this now. It's getting more and more traction every single day, and it's only a matter of time before this becomes everyday, where you won't use cash and you will be just using crypto, and one of these cards will be up there as the #1 market leader. Hope you got some great value out of today's video. As always, you can check out the website or check us out on our social media, and also check out our Facebook group, which is the Cryptocurrency Community. As always, guys, really appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next video.
This is the greatest and best song in the world. Hey, you motherfucker.
You use one half, I'll use the other. There's still some juice in there probably. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where's that from?
Yes, you are fuck. Shit out the block.